SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show, with hundreds of events listed, live concerts, sporting events, and so much more. Go on to SeatGeek.com, enter promo code Snake Sports Talk Show, and save yourself $20 off your first purchase.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on a Wednesday here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. So sorry and apologetic for technical difficulties that we had earlier. We had at least the live going on, but unfortunately it ended up getting canceled out. But no live is stopping us here tonight. iHeartRadio, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok is where you can like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you for making us a part of your night here tonight. We got so much to talk about, of course, and as we know, the week is getting bigger and better than ever, and we got a lot to really kind of unfold from here, so I'm very excited for what tonight is going to literally be like from here. So I'll start off with this. So as you know, we've had an awful lot of coaching truths all throughout at least the 2 weeks that we've had the NFL season. Up to this point, we know the teams that are basically in the comfort zone and they are riding the train. We know a lot of those teams that they are. You know, San Francisco, they're comfortable. They are riding the train. Same with the Miami Dolphins. Biggest thing that I have is that there are even a couple of surprises all through this year. Atlanta is 2-0. There's a couple of other teams. Washington now is 2-0. So there are a couple of surprises. Do I think this will carry on? It'll be interesting from here. So the teams that are basically undefeated up to this point that we will bring up, I think, you know, for some, they may end up carrying this train long ways until there's probably nothing else that's left. So the undefeated teams, as we've seen, it's the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Commanders, Falcons, Saints, Buccaneers, and the Niners. They're the ones that are 2-0. There's a couple teams that I know that are undefeated that their trains will last pretty long. I think Miami, they've got a very, very good head coach, very situational on offense, situational on defense, and they also provide a lot of star power. Baltimore, it's a loaded offense now with Lamar Jackson, and there's plenty of options to basically throw to. So I think that Baltimore could definitely end up benefiting for themselves. And the rest of them are all in the NFC. The Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Commanders. Cowboys, we saw this point with them before. They've been 2-0 last year, and we saw how long that train lasted them. The offense feels a little more conservative. So part of that, they haven't faced against a legit enough defense. But I think that might be interesting for them in the up-and-coming week. The Eagles, they took a step back up on offense. Not quite as clever or as creative as Shane Steichen was. So there's a little bit of a step back from there. But the defense still stays legit. Jalen Hurts, he hasn't thrown over 300 passing yards yet, but we should at the very least expect it soon. The Commanders, the surprise about them is Sam Howell, say what you will, but he's definitely playing quality football to where he's basically distributing the football any way that he can, and the defense has actually been playing very decent behind him. So that gives him a little more of the edge. Other 2-0 teams, the Falcons are a surprise because they are a very well-ran, ground and pound team. Arthur Smith is getting the best off this offense. Desmond Ridder, I don't really think much of him as a quarterback, but he's playing good. He's distributing the football any way that he can. And Bijan Robinson, I think, is definitely right in line as winning Rookie of the Year. The Saints are 2-0. It has not been pretty for them, but I love their defensive situational play. Something that I think Dennis Allen really does have a good quality on, just can't really get a whole lot of their offense. But that's where Derek Carr comes in. Derek Carr will make the throws he needs to and basically puts the team on his back. He finally has a legit defense this time. So that's what really makes the best out of the Saints. Buccaneers, a surprise for them because Baker Mayfield is at the very least figuring this out. So we know there's a part of the maturity that I think has changed. And the defense, by the way, when it's healthy, defense plays better. It does. So the Buccaneers, all of it, I think, in the race is in the NFC East and the NFC South. That's where the potential race is. Now, real quickly before we move into the next segment, is that the only thing that's questionable that are 0-2, the Patriots, the Bengals, the Texans, Broncos, Chargers, Vikings, Bears, Panthers, and the Cardinals. Let me just take away the teams that I know that we know are probably not going to be there yet. I picked them to be in the playoffs, but I don't think, as far as we look at with Carolina, I don't know if there really will be a playoff team. They might actually be more in lines of basically rebuilding. Arizona is just an absolute hot mess. We kind of know that right off the bat. The Texans, they're a rebuilding franchise. The Patriots, here's the thing. Patriots have a really good defense. It's just their offense. There's not enough weapons for Mac Jones to really throw to. He's getting frustrated of it. But I do like their offensive play calling with Bill O'Brien, and I think it definitely makes a lot of the case for them. There's a way to salvage this. The Bengals, I do believe, are salvageable because Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, plays better. Right now, he's just kind of been injured because of the ankle that we saw, in practice. So that's kind of lingered on. The Chargers, I think, could be salvageable, but if they lose again this weekend against the Vikings, it's time to fire the coach. There's no time to literally be saying, oh, well, they'll eventually make it. They'll eventually make it. No, the time is right now for this team to play better. There is no waiting around. The Chargers really have to get better. I think it is salvageable, but they lose this weekend, there's going to be questions and concerns. The other teams that are interesting is the Denver Broncos, Chicago, and the Vikings. Okay, the Vikings have a very suspected defense. Okay, and that's what's really killed the opportunities for, the offense and even for Kevin O'Connell to really get the best out of this team. Kirk Cousins last week had 4 touchdowns and no picks. Barely turned the ball over. They just can't secure it. So there's a point where you literally have to look at the Vikings and they have to fix that defense. Chicago, I don't know if I just don't know if Justin Fields is really the guy. The hardest part is you have a defensive head coach, can't seem to get the best out of the offense. Luke Getsy's making questionable calls on offense, and it's really driving Justin Fields nuts. And he's already pinned the blame on the coaching staff. And the entire franchise is basically pinning the blame on him. So, of course, there's a lot of unfair criticisms, and there's already unfair blames right now on Justin Fields. So, a lot of these teams right now that we saw that are basically 2-0, we know the ones that are going to continuously ride the trains. They're very good on offense. That's the Niners and the Dolphins. There's even some teams that kind of will still ride a little bit of the train, but eventually will start to kind of come back to earth. And some of them, they might end up just getting lucky, but yet they might actually go up on a losing streak down the stretch of the year. Those are your Decembers, your Januaries. Those are the toughest months that you need to bring your all. We're only up in September. So it's early on, early stuff. As long as, and here's what's funny, and I put out this case, but 99 teams since 2002, 99 teams went 0-3. Only one made it to the playoffs. One of the 99 teams. That's what I mentioned about in last night's show. So there's opportunities for teams that are 0-2. They'll bounce back. I think the Bengals will definitely bounce back. The Chargers, I believe, will bounce back. But I am very questionable about that coaching. I think part of it, Denver, they should bounce back in some ways, but I kind of see them as an 8-9 win team. I don't see them really kind of getting there to 10 wins. I love their coach. I just don't know if Russell Wilson has enough in the tank to make that happen. And then for the Patriots, I think the Patriots on any given Sunday, they'll win some games. Their defense is legit. The defense plays really, really well. It's just the offense they haven't been able to figure out their star power. But as far as the Cardinals, the Panthers, eventually I think the Bears, they're in rebuild modes. They haven't really found that yet. And then you've got the Vikings. It depends on what they end up doing. But I think there's teams that are definitely salvageable, and then there's teams you kind of already know they're going to be up in full rebuild mode. They're not even close to it. Okay, so speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, so I wanted to get to this. So, first of all, news ended up breaking out. Cam Akers is officially traded from the Rams to the Vikings. It's a good win for the Vikings, and it's also another good win for the Rams. Here's what you will get from Cam Akers. The whole point of this trade is because Cam Akers and Sean McVay were not on level ground. Okay, I think part of that is Cam Akers has a little bit of an attitude, and I think part of that was it didn't end up fitting Sean McVay's system. But he's a really good runner. He's a really good player. Cam Akers, you're going to get the best out of in Minnesota because here's the things that are salvageable, as I mentioned about some of these teams for the Minnesota Vikings. First of all, you're getting a running back who's capable of holding on to the football. You're going to get really good chunks of yardage. I think mostly in his plays. If I look up on stats on Cam Akers, I'll give it to you. But I do think there's parts of it. So Cam Akers, the thing about him is you get at least 4 to 5 yards a carry. That's average. Okay, he's already gotten 10 touchdowns in his career, and he's already got one of them to start out the year. Now, it wasn't that much, but he at the very least got 29 yards in 22 attempts. So there's parts of this that is very salvageable for the Vikings. Clearly, Alexander Mattison doesn't look like the guy. I think Cam Akers, you're going to get at the very least the best of it. And it's best on both sides. Because at least Cam Akers, he's in a place where you could utilize a lot of his strengths, use a lot of his potential. He's young. He's got fresh legs. And I think at the end of the day, the Vikings know Madison was not the answer. And they are desperately missing Dalvin Cook. You realize that the second that you let go of Dalvin Cook, who's your elite runner? Alexander Mattison, I kind of feel like, is more of a situational runner. He's not a frontline starter. I think we all kind of come to that conclusion. But at least Cam Akers, he started, knows what to expect. You're getting about average 4 or 5 yards a carry. So that gives you more of that boost because Alexander Mattison, you barely got any carries. Plus, at the same time, too, you got to eliminate mistakes on offense, which is you got to hold on to the football. You got to be very efficient in some of those areas. So at least Kirk Cousins, the part of this is that Kevin O'Connell is trying to salvage with what Minnesota has left. The defense is obviously suspect. We already know this. But at least what Minnesota can do is that look at the stretch of their schedule. Okay, I'll bring it up, but if you look at the stretch, because it's kind of tough. Next week, they're at home. They've got the Chargers. So part of that is that they really have to be better in a lot of areas, especially up on defense. Their secondaries cannot afford to be giving up big-time pass plays. That's where I think they struggle at the most. But here's what you've got in the remaining schedules. The Chargers, the Panthers, Chiefs, Bears, Niners, Packers, Falcons, Saints, Broncos, and the Bears until you hit week 13 as your bye. So parts of this, you're already 0-2. My biggest thing was, and like I said before, they probably would end up winning a game against Carolina and the Bears, but you might end up looking at 2-5. But because of Cam Akers acquire, maybe you get lucky enough, you go 3-4. But that all depends on, first of all, the clarity up on, on both sides. Clearly the coaching staff is not truthfully a problem. But I think part of that is everybody has to be on the same page. I think the Vikings will, and I think they definitely will salvage it. But I thought the Cam Akers move was right on both parts because clearly it didn't fit Sean McVay's cup of tea. And for Cam Akers, he's going into a place where they know they desperately need a running back, and they just need somebody around Kirk Cousins that gives him a little bit more support. Now, the next thing that's going to be is they need to fix that offensive line. They got to fix a little of the offensive line. They got to fix this defense. That's what you make it to make it salvageable for the Vikings to even have a chance to run in the North. Will that be the case? We'll never know until we get through the long stretch of the season. Good stuff. I like Cam Akers. I do. But I do understand as a why with, attitude problems and whatnot. And if it doesn't end up working in Sean McVay's system, that's where you get a lot of the criticism. Good stuff. Bottom half of the hour, prime predictions week 3. I had a rough break last week going 6-8, but I do feel like these picks are just ideal for me to, at the very least, have a chance at it. So, coming up next. So, the big thing I have for this is the Dallas Cowboys are off to a hot 2-0 start. And as I mentioned before, I think the Cowboys really do pose something great. But here's where I know that their offense feels pretty conservative. And right now, they haven't even faced, at the very least, a legitimate defense that gives Dak Prescott fits. That's where I'm going to explain. Is it for real, or is this a little bit more fantasy for the Cowboys to really make the long stretch? I'll explain that later coming up next. Plus, bottom half of the hour, prime predictions, hot and ready and fresh. Can't wait to end up giving it to you guys. All right, so you've heard me talk about it multiple times. I love to live the fit, healthy lifestyle that gives me the best results possible for me to live my best life. That is where my good partners at Muscle Tech, they come in. Muscle Tech right now is one of the leading brands in the industry. 100% natural proven ingredients to give you the best boost you need, whether it's supplements, whether it's vitamin, whether it's something that gets you going on your day. Need an extra boost? Need an extra edge? Maybe you're trying to build up for your next competition for a lot of our hardcore athletes out there. Maybe you're trying to get that dream summer bod that you've always wanted. We're already closing in into summer, but it's a perfect time to end up working that for the next summer. Or you maybe just want to end up looking your best fit and healthy lifestyle. Whatever your goals are, Muscle Tech has you covered with all of your products, all that you need to ensure you achieve your goals the best way possible. Go to muscletech.com. When you go and check out, use promo code SNAKESPORTS. Save yourself 30% off of all your products as a way of saying thanks for choosing us to help you reach your goals. That is muscletech.com, promo code SNAKESPORTS. That is muscletech.com, promo code SNAKESPORTS for 30% off.
Snake Sports Talk Show is sponsored by Muscle Tech, with hundreds of supplements and vitamins to choose from, all packed with 100% all-natural proven ingredients. You can be sure that Muscle Tech will give you the edge and the boost to train and look like your fit and healthy best, whatever your goals are. Try Muscle Tech today and use promo code SNAKESPORTS to save 30% off your purchases.
Bo Crouch stars in Hawk Talk, Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern on Sports Wave Network.
SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show, with hundreds of events listed, live concerts, sporting events, and so much more. Go on to SeatGeek.com, enter promo code Snake Sports Talk Show, and save yourself $20 off your first purchase.
Key Williams and Dante Criswell star in 7200 Seconds podcast Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Back with you on the Snake Sports Talk Show, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have you all here. Lots of good things that we definitely got out. And of course, for those concerned, no Taylor tonight, unfortunately. Taylor had to end up taking a rain check, had some personal stuff going on. But we know that he will definitely be back next week, but we will still have his prime predictions as well on all of our social media. So we appreciate your guys' thoughts and concerns. So what I want to get into before we do prime predictions. So the Cowboys are off to a great start. Okay, we already know they've obviously put on hell of a show. Okay, the defense is just that damn good. They're just that good. You never really see so much of what the Cowboys, in some ways, how they've definitely handled a lot of their issues. Okay. Initially, the thing about the Cowboys is that in the offseason, during practices and when we got into preseason, the talk of it was Dak Prescott didn't end up looking healthy on the lower body. So he was throwing more picks in practice and all the rest of it. And so that's where it translated. Dak Prescott doesn't look healthy, doesn't look like he's accurately throwing the football, looks like he's kind of underthrowing a bunch of ways. But what we've noticed, at least with the Cowboys, okay, they've already scored 70 points. They're already amongst the top of the league leaders in points scored. 70 points overall. They've already faced against two dysfunctional New York teams. That's the Giants and the Jets. Okay, what did the both of them have in common? The Giants looked like an absolute mess, and they were not prepared. Okay, Daniel Jones gets the big bucks at $45 million a year. He doesn't even look that good of a quarterback. And unfortunately, he doesn't have receivers outside of Darren Waller to throw to. So that's a serious problem. And the defense certainly didn't even look their best. So they couldn't end up containing the ground and pound and even the play that the Cowboys ended up showing. So that's where the Giants were bad in that. The Jets, I love their defense and I love Robert Saleh. But Zach Wilson, as you already know, is not the answer. So again, terrible quarterback play, and the offensive line, absolutely suspect. They feasted all over the Jets. And the biggest thing was that defense, you're making Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, a lot of their defensive players look like all-stars. They look like all pros all the way around. So this next week, they got the Cardinals, and I think they'll smash them. I mean, the line on it, I believe, was -12. I think they'll definitely go all in and all out. They're already 70 points past the Giants, the Jets, and they're going into the Cardinals, they probably will end up putting in a lot more. But it's simplified. That's the one thing that I think Mike McCarthy was looking to do. But look at the remainder of the schedule. Okay, the first 3, possibly 4 games. Those might be winnable games. Cardinals, I do feel, is winnable. But then listen to this. You've got home against the Patriots, on the road against the Niners, the Chargers. You got a bye week. Then you're at home against the Rams, on the road to the Eagles, at home against the Giants, on the road to Carolina, at home against the Commanders, the Seahawks, and the Eagles. And then you have a road stretch between the Bills and the Dolphins. Let me just tell you a little bit about the Cowboys, how I kind of see this season really pan out. Here's the thing. I like the Cowboys defense. I love the Cowboys defense. Micah Parsons is an animal. But the thing you really have to be honest about is that offense has not been completely tested. Okay, the Patriots might potentially give them fits. That's why I kind of think I like a little bit of, the Patriots. And by the way, they are at home against New England. That'll be interesting. But then once you're on the road against the Niners and the Chargers. Now, mind you, last time they faced the Chargers, it was nothing but coaching, a little bit of coaching dysfunction, and the players had so many, they have had a god-awful amount of penalties and yardages. They were playing undisciplined football the last time they met. So the Chargers are really going to look to try to fix this stuff. But you're telling me that Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs are going to be prepared for what Justin Herbert and your former offensive coordinator has in stored, for that defense, might be interesting. San Francisco, they've got a really good pass rush. They've got all-stars everywhere. And then there's Brock Purdy, who knows exactly how to distribute the football. I'm just saying this. I think the Cowboys, before we get to, the Cowboys will make the Super Bowl. Let's just take a brief step back, hit the brakes a bit, and let's be honest about this. Okay? The Cowboys, in order for them to truthfully be that team we're looking for, they have got to be very well battle-tested. I don't need more cupcake games like the Giants, the Jets, and the Cardinals. The second you watch the Cowboys play the Niners, the Eagles, the Chargers, all these tough battle-tested teams. Now, the Chargers, it's questionable up on that because of just coaching play and the defense that's already coughed up that many points. But you face against a San Francisco defense, not that easy to win. You'll face against New England, not that easy to win because Bill Belichick is always battle-tested. So you have to account for a lot of these things. I just think that the Cowboys haven't really truthfully met their battle-tested opponent yet, but it's not to say that there isn't a chance that they could possibly end up going on a good stretch run. I think this will be fun, but I don't think in some areas do I think that the Cowboys really have it all together. So you gotta kind of be aware of it. But that's where I am with them. All right. I know that we had some technical difficulties and whatnot, but at least we kept it up to the time to where I bring you exactly the best for last up on the show. And that is our prime predictions. As you guys all know, last week, rough week at 6-8. This week, I am really, really looking to bounce back from here. So week 3 of Jake's prime predictions, let's get rolling.
Let's turn it up. It's Jake's prime predictions. Giants at 49ers.
Okay, so the Giants, of course, they really had a close game against the Arizona Cardinals, which for no apparent reason as to why that they ended up playing, this team just looks like it's a mess, and it's a mess that needs to be buttoned up. I'm going to take the Niners here at home at -10. My thing about the San Francisco 49ers, they're comfortable up at home. And the thing about the Giants is they had such an embarrassing game against the Cowboys, and then they also didn't have the offense altogether against the Cardinals. The Cardinals! So the Giants right now look suspect on offense. Defensively, they're trying to hold everything together. You're asking too much on Kayvon Thibodeau. I think the 49ers, because of how Brock Purdy and that defense really does play up. By the way, the Niners even had a close game themselves by a touchdown against the Rams. But at least the Niners, you're facing off against an opponent. The Giants had two legit defense, Cowboys and the Niners. Yeah, this is not going to end up looking pretty for them. I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to honestly take the Niners at -10. Giants completely get undressed by the Niners. Niners win 33-17.
Saints and Packers.
All right, so the thing about the Saints and the Packers here up on this one, this was honestly, it was an interesting game. Oh wait, hold on a second. Do we even have this game uploaded? Oh hell. Another one that we didn't end up uploading, but it's basically the Falcons and the Lions. But before we end up getting to that one there, we had the Saints and the Packers. So I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions here against the Falcons. Here's my optimism about the Lions, okay? They had an emotional win against Kansas City. They came back home. They were not exactly prepared against Seattle, who Seattle was very, very pissed off at how things kind of panned out the previous week. So Seattle comes in, gets the game into overtime. Lions ended up dropping this game from here. But I do think the Lions are a very well-ran football team. The only problem is there were defensive miscues that were happening. But I love Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, really making the plays for Jared Goff. The thing about this is the Falcons, Bijan Robinson's already scored up 20 fantasy points in his 2 weeks in his debut. And the big thing is they love to ground and pound. But I think the more you face off against this Lions offensive line, it's young, it's probably much more battle-tested, and it's prepared. I think that the Lions end up winning this game at home. They'll clean their act up after last week. I'll take them to win 28-23 over the Falcons.
Saints and Packers.
All right, finally, we get to the Saints and the Packers here. Now, this was a tough game to go with, but I'm going with the Saints here. Here's the thing about this. Jordan Love, in 2 weeks that he's basically played, he's played against a dysfunctional Chicago Bears team, and he's also played against a young, rebuilding Atlanta Falcons team. Here's the thing about it. You haven't faced against a defense until you have very much met a battle-tested defense like the Saints. The Saints already in 2 weeks have held opponents to the lesser amount. Already 16 points against the Titans, and then ended up holding on 17 points against Carolina. I don't care how ridiculous the game ended up going, but the Saints defense, I trust them. I love the fact that they play up and they square up, and that front seven looks very, very intimidating. Now, the Green Bay Packers, we know, have a very good line. But the only thing is, I don't think they'll be prepared for what Jordan Love has to go through as far as the secondaries is concerned. I think the Saints end up winning this one close with the 2 points. I'll take it. New Orleans steals away a win in Lambeau, 23-21.
Texans and Jaguars.
So the Texans here, it was actually pretty battle-tested for them in the last couple of weeks and facing off against the Colts where Anthony Richardson was really, really good. I watched the performance from Jacksonville last week. I don't know if it's honestly going to be as easy as this game goes. I'm going to take the Texans at +9.5. I think their defense has a very, very good presence. They don't like to quit on a lot of games. Will Anderson Jr., really looking good in the pass rush, but they've got a pretty interesting secondary build. Now, I know they got a lot to contain with Calvin Ridley, who's playing really good, but he was shut down last week against Kansas City. So there's parts of it that they really have to clean up. But I think this will still be an interesting game. I still will take the Jags to win this game. But as far as the 9.5 points, this is going to be kept close. I think this is honestly a stay-away game a lot, but I'm going to take the Jags to win 24-20, but take the Texans points on the safe side. All right, they didn't have this one uploaded, but I'm going to take the Chargers here one more time at -1. Here's the thing about it. There are teams that are trying to salvage themselves. Now, the Vikings got themselves a runner in Cam Akers earlier from the Rams. But the thing that the Chargers really have to do is they got to clean up this defense. This situational defense is horrendous, and it's gotten worse even in 2 weeks. And this is already a team that's fourth in scoring. Like, they're the fourth worst in scoring defense, and they're the third worst in third down conversions. They did it yet again against the Titans. How could that game end up going that close? Now, I think they might have gotten a bone thrown to them, but I think the Chargers, they clean up their act on the road in Minnesota. I'll take them one more time before I honestly say, you got to give this thing up. You got to honestly let go of this coach. I'm going to take them to win and salvage themselves 27-23. But if they lose this week, that's it for me with Brandon Staley. I would definitely be having the pink slip for sure, given at that point in time. Another game didn't end up uploading, but I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens here at -7.5 over the Colts. Here's the thing that I look at. Now, the Colts have a big problem because of the fact that Anthony Richardson is downgraded with a concussion protocol. He may not start this upcoming week. The Ravens, their defense plays very good situational football. Now, they played very close against Joe Burrow, which we know back-to-back division rivals for the Bengals was tough, but they managed to make it at least a little bit of a game. The Ravens that we know, Lamar Jackson looks healthy. Now they are down with Odell Beckham, but they've got some receivers. This is why this was an area they needed to fix the most. I think the Ravens will definitely have a really good field day against the Colts. I'll take them to win 30-17, but like I said, Anthony Richardson, I don't think is a go. So the Colts are going to unfortunately end up dropping this one.
Patriots and Jets.
I do feel like that the Jets have not really shown a lot of best of their offense. I'm going to take the Patriots on the road against the Jets. The thing about the Patriots is, look at the amount of points that they've given up. They've given up 25 points to the Eagles. Even they gave Jalen Hurts some fits. And then just this past week, they played against Miami, and Miami only had 24 points. But they know how to make young quarterbacks uncomfortable for a lot of reasons. The only difference is both those coaches in those 2 weeks were exceptional. They played really good situational play. Robert Saleh, I love him as a coach, but I don't think that with Zach Wilson, you can translate that into a W. Young quarterback clearly was undressed against Dallas last week, and he's facing against another battle-tested defense. It's not going to look good for Zach Wilson and for the Jets. Even though I love their defense and I love Garrett Wilson, I don't think that the Jets really do have an answer against Belichick. Again, I'm going to take the Patriots to win 24-17 on the road. Another game from here, I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins at -6.5. The thing about the Dolphins is they are very clever and they are creative at offense because they find ways to win. Now, they are definitely the most electrifying offense in the league with Mike McDaniel. Now, here's the difference, though. Situationally up on defense, they've actually played a lot better, and they played for game clutch moments that matter. That's the difference. Vic Fangio, I thought, was a very, very good hire and a smart hire for Mike McDaniel because they needed to button down this defense. They are without Jalen Ramsey again, but I think next week Jalen Ramsey will be healthy. And I think against the Denver offense that, yeah, they scored over 30 points, but Russell Wilson off script doesn't look that great. And the defense did not look like themselves last week as giving up a ton of points. But I don't know if Denver really does find the answer of it, and they're facing a hyper-electric offense. I think Miami at home is going to look comfortable. I'll take them to win 28-20 over the Broncos.
Titans and Browns.
No, Cleveland ended up adding Kareem Hunt onto their running back list after Nick Chubb is now out for the season with a dislocated knee. I'm going to take the Titans here with the points, and I honestly do think they might walk away with this game. Here's the thing. Deshaun Watson, since he's been a Brown, he has not looked electrifying as a quarterback. And the biggest thing is he's dealt with a lot of distractions. We obviously know that the Silva lawsuits, it was absolutely just disgusting. But the thing about this is the translation on the field has not looked its best. It looks slow. He's obviously hasn't even taken the time to really run and throw. That's where it makes a huge difference. And the Titans, here's the thing about them. They played clutch defense. Yes, they lost the game against the Saints. They came back and they won it, and they played smart football against a defense that was just so questionable in their heads in the Chargers. But against Cleveland, which they're hurting a little bit up on that run game, but I think Kareem Hunt gives them a little bit of a chance. I will, however, take the points in Tennessee, and I think they'll win on the road because they are the kind that when they're on the road, they'll come in, they'll sock you in the face, and they'll give you exactly a game to match up to. And I think the Titans, it's going to be a handful for the Browns, so I'll take them to win 23-20 with the close points.
Bills and Commanders.
Believe that I know that the Commanders right now are 2-0, but not for long. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills at 6.5. Here's the thing that the Bills, they needed to clean up after week one's mess on Monday Night Football. They needed to clean up where they needed to make smart throws on the quarterback's end, Josh Allen. They did that last week. 38 points against the Raiders. They also ended up running the football very efficiently. Now, I don't think this will be the similar case or at least against Washington, because I thought the Commanders played very, very good defensively. They're 2-0 up to this point. And Sam Howell, all he's got to do is he's just got to basically execute for the chances for him to basically make the throws and make the plays. I think this will be an interesting game. I'll take the Bills and the points. They go on the road to Washington, not that intimidated, but I think they'll definitely give you a handful for the Commanders. I will take them to win 28-20.
Panthers and Seahawks.
So my thing with the Seahawks is that even though they came off of a huge win against Detroit, they're coming in again. Now they're back at home, and they're going to retry this again. I'm going to take the Seahawks at -6. My thing with the comfortability up at home, they know that they got embarrassed that first week that they were in against the Rams, a division rival game. We know this is not a division rival, but it is a opportunity against a rebuilding franchise in Carolina where they know they got to clean a little bit of some stuff up. But Geno Smith, he definitely looked a lot better. Offensive line, they had 2 backup tackles last week, and they played very good. They were able to give him some protection in the pocket, and Seattle battled all the way to the end. I think they're definitely comfortable up into this spot, but hopefully they'll get the run game going. Kenneth Walker's definitely got to start running up really good. I think he will get the chance to do so. I'll take the Seahawks to win 27-20, comfortable at home.
Cowboys and Cardinals.
The Dallas Cowboys are riding this wave where they are absolutely exceptional on offense and defense. I'll take the Cowboys here at -12. This is already now the 3rd week that they are getting the break against a rebuilding yet dysfunctional franchise, the Arizona Cardinals. The thing about the Cowboys is they've barely allowed any points. The only most they've given up is 10. 10 points. The defense is so hyper athletic. Now, keep your eyes out on a bunch of spots because we know Those are the things that the offense is going to get steamrolling. They're going to get the train moving from here. But Micah Parsons has just been having an absolute feast in the first 2 weeks of the season. I'll take the Cowboys to end up winning. This is just not going to end up looking pretty. It's going to look atrocious. I think the Cowboys will get the job done better than what the Giants should have, 35-14.
Bears and Chiefs.
All right, so I know I don't trust the Chicago Bears in a lot of spots. What can I say? But honestly, I'm going to take them here in this spot at plus 12.5. You're telling me right now with young receivers with Kansas City that they're just going to end up blasting them away with like 12.5? Are you kidding me? That feels like a trap. I think that the Chicago Bears, because they're very defensive oriented, they have an opportunity to honestly make some serious noise. Justin Fields, all he has to do is just distribute the football any way he can. We know he can't really see well on the field, but if you looked at Kansas City, their offensive pieces weren't exactly all on the same page. So that's where I know that the young receivers, they're trying to get up into their own, but I don't know if Kansas City really has a lot of that firepower like they've had before. I think it'll be interesting of a game. Kansas City will still win, but I'll take the 12.5 points on the Bears. 27-21, Kansas City wins at home.
Steelers and Raiders.
So this is obviously tough for me as the fact that the Steelers were initially the favorite up on here. Now they're the underdog. I am honestly going to end up taking the Steelers at plus 2.5. I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're thinking because Matt Canada, very conservative, think and dunk football, that he's not getting the best out of Kenny Pickett. But let me be honest with you. I love the pass rush that the Steelers bring. I think, honestly, because with TJ Watt and a bunch of their players, the Steelers give you at least some optimism on those ends. Now, it was not a great Monday Night Football game at all, but they still managed to win against Cleveland. But that pass rush of the defense definitely cleaned itself up, and TJ Watt ended up making a bunch of big-time stops. I think because of a suspected offensive line that got completely exposed against the Buffalo Bills, I'll take them to be the home wreckers from here with the Raiders. 23-21. The Steelers end up winning on Sunday Night Football and have a great showing against those Raiders at home.
Eagles and Buccaneers.
Another doubleheader game, as we know, Philadelphia against Tampa Bay. I'll take the Eagles here on the road at 5.5. The thing about the Eagles is that their offense does not look pretty, but what I do love is that their defense still stays solid. Baker Mayfield, we know he's cleaned up a lot of things, and yes, it's a nice kind of look that the Buccaneers are 2-0, but he hasn't faced that legitimate defense, and when he does, he kind of gets a little bit unraveled. We know that his record against legitimate defenses are not that great. But the thing about Baker is that there's times where he'll get into his groove and then eventually will lose his groove by the time that he's pressured and he's sacked. And then he's a completely different quarterback. Now, as far as the defense goes, they still allow pressures even without sacks. They still get pressures. Jalen Carter and a lot of these guys up on that front seven is just nasty. So I'll take the Eagles to win. I don't know if it'll be a pretty game, but I think that there will be some good spurts from there. I'll take them to win 27-20 on the road in Tampa Bay on a Monday Night Football doubleheader.
Rams and Bengals.
I was not sure how I was going to end up going with this game, but I'm going to take the Rams at plus 2.5. This is a stay-away game for me anyway because of the fact of, first of all, Joe Burrow is questionable about his status for the week on Monday night. I don't know if he'll end up playing, but if he does, I still do think that there's parts of it that he's kind of feeling a little bit of that injury. But Joe Burrow last week against the Ravens put up some really good points, but Jamar Chase didn't end up looking that much of like his regular self. Not as explosive, not as big. I think part of that is a little bit of offensive scheming play calling. But let me just tell you a little bit about what I've been impressed with the Rams lately. Matt Stafford says he hasn't really connected with these young wide receivers, but I got Puka Nacua, a rookie wide receiver who's already making records right now, and he's already playing to the extent that he is the man, as Cooper Kupp is down right now at the moment. I mean, they're not making that very easy for a lot of their components, but the Rams play very good situational football. A lot of this has to be Sean McVay, but I'm going to take the Rams here on the road. They may lose this game, but still, 2.5 points is more than enough for me to swallow up. I'll take the Bengals to win, but the Rams points, keeping it at 24-23. So there you go, folks. I really am looking for that big rebound back here this week. And as most of you know, because again, 6-8 was just not a good taste for me. So I'm taking a lot of favorites this week, but even some good dogs that are out there. So I got the favored Niners, Lions, Chargers, Ravens, Patriots, Dolphins, Bills, Seahawks, Cowboys, and the Steelers now are the underdogs, but I thought they kind of felt more like favorites. And then I'll take the Eagles as the favorites. So now my dogs, because I'm going to update it with the Steelers, Saints, Texans, Titans, Bears, Steelers, and Rams. So there's a good mixture of that. So I do feel like that there's going to be a lot of really good quality picks. I really am excited for this up-and-coming weekend. I am very much looking to rebound this week, and I really, really hope that these picks really do it for me for this week. So I'm excited about it. But overall, I appreciate you guys jumping on here on the show and hanging out with me, your one and only host, Jake the Snake Silva. Taylor should be back next week on next Tuesday, and we may have special guests for you, so you don't want to end up missing that. And by the way, for those that aren't catching it, I've got late shows right after the football games on Monday and Thursday nights. It's called Snake Bites, and that will be on the Wisdom app, so you don't want to end up missing that. Catch your bites at Snake Bites on Wisdom app. Download the app and look up the Snake Sports Talk Show, and that is where I'll be there for recaps of those games. With that being said, Prime Predictions Week 3 is finally there. I'm definitely going to start making some bets here up tonight. At least get some really good bet lines for me to start winning some money up. So take care, you guys. Have a great night, and we will see you guys next Tuesday on the next episode of the Snake Sports Talk Show. We'll see you soon, guys.